How did you come across it, and what was it about that story that made you feel it would make a good film?
I was reading a newspaper and I fell on this article about a young father who spent the last few months of his life looking for a new family for his 4-year-old boy. He was a single father, young man himself, and had to find a new family, had to choose a new family for a 4-year-old boy. And I thought it was a wonderful opportunity to think about what parenthood is and what a family is. And is there such a thing as a perfect family? Is there such a way of being a perfect parent? And the bond between parents and children, especially young children, and the way that parents and children, young children, communicate with each other. And to me, it was a love story. Although the film is not a story, it doesn't have a beginning and a middle and an end. It's just a capturing of a moment, of a few weeks in the life of this young father and this young son, and how their relationship is strong and intimate and exclusive. And it, of course, changes gradually, softly. And maybe by the end, the father has become the son and the son has become the parent. There is a way of, I get moved even thinking about it, but it's, it's at the end, it's the child that leads the father across the road. It's the child that brings the drink to the father. It's the, it's the sensitivity. A child doesn't understand what is happening necessarily. A 4-year-old does not, but feels things. And the love, the power of the love and the connection between this young man and this boy is so strong that those feelings are exchanged. There is dialogue even when there is no talking. It's all done. I hope you'll appreciate, all done with very low volume, with very quietly, very observing, but not writing, no melodrama, no big scenes of shouting, crying, anger, despair. The way that the good parent, in a way, would help a young child gradually absorb and accept the situation that they are in, quietly. Like most lives are led. Our lives usually are quiet. Sometimes we go to the cinema to be taken away from our lives, and we witness loud lives, loud action, loud emotions, melodrama. I don't have anything against particularly melodrama. Douglas Sirk is a great director and had made wonderful movies, but sometimes some stories, I think, need a quiet approach, a delicate approach. And
you seem to gravitate towards that, because I was thinking about your previous film, Still Life, and that's another small, intimate film. I mean, is that your sort of natural direction?
Well, I think that tonally I like softness, or I like subtlety, maybe. I like to see on the screen people rather than characters. So I need to work with wonderful actors who can make us forget that they are actors, who don't perform but live the moments in front of the camera. And I think in particular in this case, a story or a situation rather, that could have been handled with a lot of drama, a lot of forced situation, a lot of pushing of buttons and forced emotions and big music and big close-ups and tears and et cetera, et cetera. I thought, in fact, the situation called for the opposite, called for a very restrained, very delicate, very light-handed approach. And I thought that by doing that, it might actually sit with you and stay with you even after you left the cinema or you left your screen at home and made yourself a cup of tea. I think it would have been a mistake to do it in a different way.
I think that makes it all the more powerful, actually. I mean, you were talking about your cast, particularly Daniel Lamont, the little boy who plays Michael. I mean, James Norton is fantastic as his father as well, but I wondered how you found Daniel and how you knew that he was the Michael that you were looking for.
Well, we were working with the wonderful Carla Strong in Belfast, magical casting director, and we saw 100 young boys around the age of 4, which was the age of the boy that I read about in the newspaper article. And Daniel was number 6, in fact, of the 100 we saw. And after number 6, everybody had to be better than Daniel, and nobody was better than Daniel. And what he had was a wonderful quality of listening within those moments that we were working with him to try, while we were trying to decide who the best actor could have been for this. He had no experience before. I didn't want anybody who had had any experience and had been told how to behave, how to act, or how to say a line, or etc. But also there were moments when he was very quiet. And the Michael I had written was a very quiet boy, in the same way that the father is a very quiet man. And they feed into each other, the father and the son. And we were very lucky in identifying him. But of course, what we were very lucky with was not just finding a boy that could deliver a few moments, the few lines that he has in the film that I had written, but to become entirely the young Michael I had written. And to develop such a close connection with James Norton, that what you see on screen is real love, is a real friendship. They're still in touch after 2 years that we shot the film. They became a real unit. Even when we were not shooting, but on the set, they would be on the side playing with each other. And then they would come back. And of course, Daniel is a boy like any other 4-year-old boy, and he jumps around, he's full of energy, full of beans, fantastically energetic. But then we said, now we are working action. And he left his bubbly personality beside and became the quiet, introspective Michael. Careful, attentive, observant, studying, looking.
He's a natural, isn't he? He's a natural.
He's a complete natural. He was a complete natural, so much so that my fear, what I had been told I would expect to do, which is creating the performance, creating the relationship by cutting bits from various moments and sticking them together, I never had to do, because they were on camera together at the same time there, one big, one small, and just living these moments for real. It's just, it's nothing to do with me. It has to do with some magic that some gods of cinema sent us. But the relationship is real.
How much of what we see on the screen is actually improvised? I'm thinking particularly of the scenes where we can't hear the dialogue, where they're in the park, for example, and when the father ends up with ice cream on his face. I mean, that to me looked completely spontaneous.
Well, it was written, and then it was played out. So no, in fact, nothing is improvised. That is, in a funny way, the extraordinary thing, because the other way of making the film would have been forget the script, shoot as much as possible, and then patch together whatever has come out of it. But instead, James and Daniel became and lived the experience of the characters, of the people I had written. Not characters, people. Very big difference to me. And so that when you're sitting in the cinema and watching the film, you're watching people, and you can relate to them and connect to them in a way that maybe you can't if you're watching brilliant actors performing characters, if you see what I mean.
Uberto, their performances are wonderful, and as I say, the film is beautiful as well. So thank you very much for your time, and
not at all.
such a lovely film as well.
Thank you very much.